Hey everyone, it's Ron Johnson, and this is the Ron Johnson Show on the Locked On Minnesota Sports Podcast Network. On today's show, we got to talk a little Vikings. That was one of the best games I've seen this offense put up. And the defense, the defense was the question mark, and we're going to get into that next on the Ron Johnson Show. Also, we got Jordan Taylor coming up in the Hangin with Ron Johnson segment in the Daily 3. You don't want to miss that because he told me before we did the interview, he has a story about a Ku Klux Klan situation at the Big Ten tournament. You do not want to miss that one. Coming up next.
On the field, in the broadcast booth, Ron Johnson is Minnesota sports. One-of-a-kind opinions, big-name guests, the teams you care about every day. It's the Ron Johnson Show, part of Locked On Sports Minnesota, and it starts now.
Welcome to the Ron Johnson Show, and I'm your host, Ron Johnson. I am so excited today. Why? Because it's just a Tuesday. The Vikings have the day off. Birds are chirping. Sun's out. We got a Badger fan and a former Badger player on the show, and the Badgers lost. That's the best thing that could ever happen to me. Jordan Taylor's going to join me later on the Ron Johnson Show. But first, we got to talk about the Vikings. We have to talk about them. Why? Because of their dominance. When you think about what they did, when you think about how they did it, how they executed, the play calling. But before we jump into that, when you subscribe to the Locked On Sports Minnesota, you are getting endless Vikings talk with local experts. Subscribe to the free Locked On Sports Minnesota podcast feed wherever you find your podcasts. And find our videos on the Locked On Sports Minnesota's YouTube channel. And as I bring my producer, Sam Extraman, to the show, we got to talk about the Vikings, the offense, the defense, the special teams, the coaching. Sam, when you think about what's coming up next, so the Packers, it's Tuesday, so you can spend a little bit of time on that, but it's time to move on to the Eagles. And when you're thinking about these Fly Eagles Fly, you think about Jalen Reagor, you think about what he can kind of, tell the team a little bit, because he knows this offense. Like, he wasn't cut. He was traded. The things he probably knows about this team, the things he probably knows about the Eagles. Let's go to the Packers first. When you wake up again, now it's Tuesday, you had time to really just relax, calm down, get to the brass tacks of everything, get serious. What stands out to you about that Vikings game against the Packers?
Yeah, I think the offense did what the offense has done before, right? 23 points, that's a solid performance. Kirk was super efficient. And mistake-free. Now, the difference is that they had a great defensive performance to go along with it, and they outplayed the Packers in special teams. They played complementary football. And Mike Zimmer's teams, for whatever reason, the last 2 years, they could never get it all going at once. If the offense was hot, the defense was cold, like last year at Arizona. If the defense was hot, the offense was cold. Maybe special teams was screwing up too and affecting things. It was all just in sync on Sunday, which was massive. And I think the defense, probably the most impressive, Ron, the fact that they held Green Bay to 7. The pass rush was getting home just with their front. They weren't even blitzing that much from what I saw, and they were still getting pressure on Rodgers. Other than the one Patrick Peterson breakdown on the first play of the game, really good coverage throughout. So what isn't there to be encouraged by? Everyone just kind of carried their weight. The Vikings didn't have any catastrophic injuries, like we saw elsewhere in the league. So you walk away feeling pretty good if you're a Vikings fan, but things can change super fast. So what will they do on the road against a very different quarterback, someone who isn't as arm talented as Rodgers, but is going to beat you with his legs?
Yeah, so the one thing I said, the thing that stands out to me when I wake up today is just Justin Jefferson and Kirk Cousins. We talked about that. I talked about all the quarterbacks, Rams. You look at the Lions. You look at the Bears. You can't really say because it was the rain. But you look at the miscues. You look at the Patriots. You look at so many teams that were out of sync. You look at Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray, there was one play where it was a jailhouse blitz, and he never saw the guy coming. So there was a lot of things where I'm like, man, is it just week one jitters for teams and just miscues? Or are the Vikings really just that good? Are we going to go all in on the Dolphins now? But this is what I saw. I saw a Kirk Cousins that looked confident. a Kirk Cousins that looked relaxed, a Kirk Cousins that I feel like he's being like taken care of. I feel like he's being talked to. I mean, the head coach is talking to the offense every time they come off the field, celebrating with Kirk Cousins, not fakingly. This is real celebration. This is real jubilation. This is jubilee. This is excitement. Kevin O'Connell looked like he was about to do the gritty at one point. Keenan McCardell is over there celebrating with Justin Jefferson and Kirk. I mean, it just seems like there is synergy. And I hate to use that word, but it seems like between all the coaches and the players, there seemed like there was synergy. And I think that, for me, is what stood out the most. The synergy within that locker room, on that sideline, just being out there in warm-ups. I got a chance to talk to Mike Pettin, former Packers coach, former Ravens coach. He was my coach with the Ravens. He's now defensive analyst for the Vikings. I got a chance to talk to him before the game on the sideline. And he and I just chopped it up a little bit about what we were going to see with this defense, because we talked about the offense. And this was my takeaway that I got from the defense that he kind of brought up. You never know where Danielle Hunter and Za'Darius Smith might line up. You never know if we're going to be in a true 3-4-3 look or 3-4 look. If you notice, one of Danielle's Hunter, I think the sack or the spin move they showed, his hand was in the ground like a DN. He wasn't the stand-up backer. So, and then there was the Z move where he ran over Aaron Jones, and then Aaron Rodgers got blown up. Like, he was in the A gap. Like, so they are going to move around. He said third down, you're going to see it. And I think that's what we saw it, or passing downs for sure. It's not always third down, just a known passing down. They're going to do some things to be like, whoa, what are you doing here? The Ravens called it controlled chaos. He said, we're going to see a version of it, just not that. But you saw it. You saw Jordan Hicks fire when he saw it. It was a fire zone blitz because he was in zone, and all of a sudden it's like, look, I'm going to go. My guy's not running out. He's blocking. He turns his eyes inside because he thinks Jordan Hicks is in the flat, and Jordan Hicks just had the wherewithal to, like, boom, fire, and he's out there. So that was my one takeaway, was the defense. And then my other one was Justin Jefferson. Like, him and Kirk Cousins being on the same page. His out routes with a guy in the flat and Kirk Cousins being able to stick it to the sideline. Like, he made some throws where I'd be like, oh, but that's a different Kirk Cousins now. He's taking a little bit of a chance. He's not worried about an interception. He's like, look, if I get out my hands quick enough, we'll be fine. This linebacker is not going to get to this ball. He's thrown perfect balls all game. Like, so I just like that. I like his relaxed feeling. He looked like he took a couple chances. Him and Justin Jefferson on the same page. That was that. When you move on to the Eagles, yeah, it's that. It's the quarterback that can create a play, secondary play with his legs. When he gets outside the pocket, he's not going to sit in the pocket and look for a pass like Aaron Rodgers. He's not just going to duck and run and get hit or fumble the ball. He's going to try to make a play with his legs when he doesn't have anything else, because they run that RPO where he's running. Oh, wait, I can pass it. We saw Josh Allen do it a little bit too. So that's going to be the key is, can Brian Asamoah get healthy? Can Lewis Seen get healthy? Because they're going to need more guys out there that can move in space, can cover all the guys, but also can spy the quarterback. So we'll see what that looks like. We always talked about this. Injuries can really hurt you. Injuries can keep you off of a field. Injuries can have you losing your spot. Injuries can also screw up a season. We saw that with Danielle Hunter when those guys went down. Za'Darius Smith being hurt with the Packers. Like, when guys get hurt, it ruins a season. Look at Dak Prescott now. Who knows what the Cowboys are going to be? They're going to have 6 to 8 games without their starting quarterback. That might ruin their season. If they lose 6, it's done. I mean, unless the Washington Commanders are terrible and the Eagles are terrible, I just don't see it being that way. Like, the Cowboys are going to have a tough upfield battle. Who's the other team in the NFC East? It's Eagles, Cowboys, Commanders,
Eagles, Giants got to win.
And that's the other one.
Yeah.
And the Giants got to win. So who knows what they're going to be? Like, it's so hard to see. But the Eagles, like, the Eagles looking at Dak being out there like, wait, this might be our division now. Like, Dak's out. We might have a chance to get back to the playoffs. But Jalen Hurts has got to be able to move around, and that's what the Vikings have got to keep in the pocket. But, again, back to the Vikings. I'm excited about the motions and the shifts. That's what really got me the most. The motions and the shifts. It felt nothing like the Vikings have passed. It was a new regime. This is what I'll say for you, Sam. When you look at the Vikings offense and defense, by week 4, because right now it seems like they're, offensive led. Where do you think? Do you think this is a balance of power? Do you think they're going to even out? Do you think they're both going to still be in the top 10 by week 4 statistically? Where do you think they're going to fall?
Yeah, I'm not expecting this defense to be a top 10 defense by the end of the year. that was an amazing performance. I still think that it'll level out. They'll probably be a league average defense. I think the offense will be top 10, and I expect them to be maybe even top 5. Like, I still think that is how they're going to win 12 games, is that the offense will fuel them. So is there more meat on the bone offensively? Yeah, I think there is. I mean, I think that people are very excited about Jefferson's performance. I think the offense as a whole was solid. It was above average. I don't think it was unbelievable. Like, the Chiefs' offense was unbelievable on Sunday. The Vikings had 23 points. They had 6 points in the second half, but they were only 4 of 13 on third down. You know, they can be more efficient in the run game. I think there's still more for them to show on offense, and I think they can get there. And I do think the offense will remain sort of the constant on this team. The defense might fluctuate a little bit, but if they stay healthy, I think they can be, you know, top 15 in this league as well. And if the offense is top 5 and the defense is top 15, that is a formula to make a playoff run.
Yeah, and to put it in context, what Sam's talking about, Kirk Cousins had an 80 QBR. Pat Mahomes, 94. That man was balling. 360 yards, 5 touchdowns, 30 for 39. You're right. Like, it was an absolute, 44-21 victory over the Cardinals. I just wonder, like, is this Kyler Murray stipulation of watching film? Is there something to it? Because some of the blitzes he missed that I saw in highlights, that's just like not understanding. I feel like Kirk Cousins had a better grasp of the filming. Like, I think he had a better grasp of understanding the situation and what he's supposed to do in those situations. But yeah, when you look at the Chiefs, it was a dominant performance, like all the way around. I mean, I'm looking at Travis Kelce, 8 catches, 121 yards. Juju Smith-Schuster, 6 catches, 79 yards. So, you know, obviously fitting into this team. He did have 2 fumbles. He lost 1. So Juju has to get back. He had some bad juju. I think they're going to make a push for it again. It's going to be a Chiefs-Bills battle in that AFC. But in the NFC, it's anybody's. I mean, it's so wide open in NFC. Like, you could easily put the Vikings in that NFC championship right now. Like, the way it all stands right now, the Vikings would be NFC North champs for sure, and then probably in the NFC championship. Like, I could see that. Like, right now, though, that's one game in. It could all change next week, and we're like, man, they still suck. But you never know. If they blow the Eagles out or have a commanding win against the Eagles, then you're like, man, wait a minute. That was 2 games that people were saying they might lose. Now when do they lose? The Cardinals aren't looking so hot. Now, maybe DeAndre Hopkins being out could be part of it, but they're just not looking hot. But we are going to move into the Hangin with Ron Johnson segment. I got Jordan Taylor joining me. As I said, it is going to be a good one. This man has some stories on top of stories, some good Badger Gophers battles. Tubby Smith. Could Jordan Taylor have been a Gopher if Tubby Smith had been the head coach a little bit sooner? Stay tuned and we'll see. But before we jump into that interview, we have a word from our sponsors.
BetOnline.net remains your number one source for all pro and college football betting needs and sports info this season. Find all the latest lines and over-unders at BetOnline.net. Game matchups, news, podcasts, and everything you need to know, not only about NFL and college football, but NBA, NHL, MLB, MMA, boxing, and golf. You name it, it's at betonline.net, your fastest and easiest way to check in on all your favorite sports and events. So head to their website today or on your mobile device, betonline.net, where the game starts.
Up next on the Ron Johnson Show is the Hangin with the Ron Johnson segment with Jordan Taylor. Yeah, we're going to call it Behind Enemy Lines. It's not Wisconsin Badgers week just yet. I'm pretty sure when we play the Badgers, I'm going to have to get Jordan back on with probably like Trevor Mbakwe and Damian Johnson. Have a little trash talk between Gopher Hoopers. But as I bring Jordan to the show, Jordan Taylor, man, thank you for joining me on the Ron Johnson Show. Question for you before we get out the gate. Did you ever play football? Like, were you a football guy growing up?
Yeah, I was, man. Shoot, all my friends still say that I'm a football player playing basketball. My neck used to be thick, man. I used to be big. I had to slim down a little bit because I was getting self-conscious. But yeah, I was a slot receiver and a D-back and a running back. But we ran in high school a double wing tight offense. So I said, I'm not getting hit like this. It's not for me.
At Benil, so you played at Benil, right?
Yeah, I played till my sophomore year at Benil, and then they switched to the spread the year after I graduated. I was like, y'all are crazy.
And so you played 3 years at Wisconsin. You amassed over 1,400 yards. You were just inducted into the Badgers Sports Hall of Fame. Congratulations to Jordan Taylor on that one. Much deserved, man. I remember watching you play because, of course, Trevor Mbakwe and those guys. I always watch Badgers, Gophers, Iowa. And then I heard about this kid from Minnesota that didn't choose the Gophers. Tell me about that recruiting process. You're at Benilde. The Gophers are right in your backyard, and you decide to go to Wisconsin. What was the deal with that one?
Yeah, I mean, I committed early. I hated the recruiting process. Like, I hated talking to coaches. You know how it is, man. It's like you talk to these coaches. Only so many of them are you kids. I mean, we're kids, but you get an energy from people. And Coach Gar was probably just the most genuine person. Like, he was telling me what I needed to work on before they even offered me a scholarship. And then I went to a football game in Madison. I saw some of the girls down there, and that was a wrap. I was like, I didn't know what the swing offense was. I didn't know anything about it, but I was like, I can make this work. So I just got it over with. And then Tubby came after I committed, so it was tough to change my mind after that.
So do you think if Tubby was there early on, like when you were 7th, 8th grader, 9th grader, do you think you probably would have been a Gopher?
I think it would have been a better chance just because Tubby Smith was legendary in my household, man. They beat the Gophers when I was a kid with Bobby Jackson and them. And, I was a young black kid, and him as a legendary black coach, I would have been something that was kind of like, it would have been hard to have him in my home or in my recruiting me and say no, to be honest.
Yeah, and this is Jordan Taylor on the Ron Johnson Show on the Locked On Sports Podcast Network. And you just said something that triggered. I just want to throw a question in there because this is off the cuff. We're having fun, kicking it, hanging back. I'm going to get you out the hoop, though, man, because you're a real hooper. I love to, play and take, guys out the hoop. And Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah said he can hoop. The Vikings' new GM. You got Gabe Henderson with the Vikings. I've hooped with him. So I'm going to have to get you out there with us, man, because when you get back, I mean, you're a real hooper. I mean, we can go. But, we got to go in somewhere and hustle a couple dudes at Lifetime somewhere. But you brought up a good point about Tubby Smith being a black head coach, and he coached at Minnesota as well as Clem Haskins. So Minnesota's not in that, position of Nebraska. And you might have heard about it at Nebraska. Mickey Joseph is now the head coach of Nebraska football. He is the first African-American head coach in Nebraska, and not football history. The entire Nebraska program. Basketball, football, baseball, soccer, track and field, lacrosse, I mean, whatever, tiddlywinks, chess, everything. He is the first black head coach. When you hear that, man, why do you feel like, as much as we've progressed in the NFL and they continue to talk about minority hires, why do you think schools like that still are slow to, give African-Americans a chance?
I think it's deep rooted. I think we could sit here and have a conversation for hours about it, to be honest. I try to not put too much stock in it. I think that I put a lot of stock in someone like that finally getting an opportunity, and shout out to him. But honestly, people tend to hire people that look like them or their friends, whether black, white, whatever. And that's just the way of the world. So I tend not to put too much stock in that. I think it's great that you see people trying to shift the balance of power, for lack of a better term. But I don't know a ton about Lincoln, Nebraska, so I don't want to generalize or anything. But I can't imagine there's too many black folks in Lincoln, Nebraska, to be making those type of hires and bringing people of color in. So it's cool to see him get that opportunity. It's cool to see the world changing. And it's cool to see, people of from different groups, different creeds, whatever, getting some equity in the world, especially in the sports world.
Yeah, because, we all talked about Scott Frost, and I loved him for the Nebraska program because he was great to us at Minnesota. Never put up a fight, never really tried to win a game. So I got to love him there. But I think he had to die in order for Mickey Joseph to make history. So, you know what? It's one of those Batman type of lines. I'm with it. And so I'm looking forward to it. Now, it's tough now because I want Nebraska. I don't want them to win against us, but now I'm kind of rooting for Nebraska because I want to see Mickey Joseph do well. I want to see him get an opportunity to Notre Dame. They hired their black head coach, and that he, Marcus Freeman took over at the end of the season and he got the job. So I'm hoping Mickey Joseph can show them in these next 8 to 9 games something that Scott Frost didn't, which is just show up to a game and make it competitive, and don't screw it up. And so I think that's going to be the key. But the funny thing too is they fired him too soon. If they fired him in October, they wouldn't have owed him much money. They fired him like 3 weeks too soon, and now they got to pay him all this money. I'm like, how dumb are you? Like, it's the Ed Orgeron. I don't know if you saw that comment from Ed Orgeron that they asked him, would he leave? And they said, we'll still give you all of your money, which I don't know if it was like $15 million. He was like, all right, where do I sign? And where's the back door? Like, I'm out of here. Like, I'll take my 15 and leave. So when you think about your
17,
time,
I saw he said, "What door you want me to leave?"
right? Yeah, like for that much money, I'm out of there. So when you think about your time against the Gophers, man, let's take it way back in time. I've seen you guys battle on Twitter about this. Damian Johnson, Trevor Mbakwe, you guys love to go back and forth. I see Kendall Shell in there. What do you remember about your battles against those guys in the Gophers?
Yeah, well, real quick too, I don't know if that was a nod towards Nebraska having all that money, or if they just wanted dude out that bad. Like and probably both, but
probably
to
both.
Point, but that's that's insane. That's insane. But yeah, again, I hope he does well, because I can't imagine the pressure he has on himself as an individual, and just when, as a black coach, probably you have people depending on you, like you said. But
right.
Yeah, me, Kendall, Dame, and Trev have a group chat on Twitter. That I have no idea why it's not through text message, but all we do is talk. Talk ish to each other all day, every day. Share articles and stuff like that. I was actually 3-3 against the Gophers, but I was 0-2 as a freshman, so I didn't get to play that much. So I always tell them, when I was playing, y'all didn't beat me. It wasn't very often, but the Gophers, man, God bless y'all. God bless the football program, the basketball program. Y'all it's just a different level, you know what I'm saying? It's a different tier, it's a different level. Y'all got so many great players. You say you're going in the Hall of Fame this weekend. Congratulations to you. Trev is the one Trev bothers me, because Trev always wants to rep the Gophers, and I got to remind this man, you didn't choose the Gophers. He chose Marquette, went to JUCO, and then came back. Like, so you can't even be repping the Gophers like that, man. That was like your third choice. So Trev's a non-starter, but Dame and Kendall got my respect, because they out of town kids. They love the Gophers. They maroon and gold through and through. So Trev is too, but he needs to come off that.
So when you get a chance to see Dawson Garcia back in the Twin Cities, are you gonna tell him that, like, he's not a Gopher now? Like, he's a Marquette to North Carolina, now a Gopher? Like,
I'm gonna I'm gonna keep it real with you at all times. Through my purview, I'm gonna keep it as real as I see it. And you can look, he's a Gopher, but just don't be over here talking go for this, go for that, because the first 2 times you had a chance to be a Gopher, you wasn't a Gopher, or you weren't a Gopher. So nah, we're not doing that. You don't even jump into argument.
Maybe it was a coach. Ben Johnson's turned it around. He's gonna do a good job there. When you think about Nebraska, Wisconsin football, how close do you follow your Badger football program? Because they took an L this past weekend, and it was like heaven. I mean, Iowa lost, Wisconsin lost, Nebraska lost, the Packers lost. I mean, it was heavenly. Like, I know you went to Benilde, so you know about going to Mass and all that. Like, it was one of those things where, like, it just felt like church was happening all weekend. So, like, how did you feel about that, though? What do you think, is next for the Badgers program?
They're Wisconsin. I like Graham Mertz. I really want Graham Mertz to do well. I've met him a couple times. He's a good dude. He can throw the ball down the field. The one thing that we generally don't have is elite wide receivers. It's really the only thing we normally don't have. But we have good wide receivers. That's not a jab at them. They always struggle with Pac-12 teams. This is going to be one of those years where we'll see how they do moving forward. But, I'd be willing to put a lot of money that we beat the Gophers again. But we'll just see how it goes. And honestly, as a football fan, I don't cheer for a lot of teams because, in basketball, I just cheer for players. So obviously I'm a Badger fan, but I'm really a Vikings fan. That's all I cheer for.
Okay.
So
okay.
When the Badgers play, I obviously want them to do well. The kid Braylon Allen, though, he's a beast. I like him a lot. He's a big running back, and they'll bounce back. I got confidence in him. I was just happy to be in the stadium, see jump around and do all that again, because the games are one of the best festivities you can go to.
Yeah, man. And so last one, you're playing overseas now. You said this kind of your last hurrah, your last go around. What continues to drive you to want to play professional basketball?
Oh man, I'm sure you can relate, but just love of the game, and that's cliche. But, it's like the older you get, the love changes, right? And I don't have a family yet. Some people say, family and other things become a priority. Um, but it's that itch. Like I still get that itch every time. Like I'm about to go to practice right now, and I just woke up from a nap, and it's like I don't want to go to practice, but as soon as I get in the gym, I'm gonna want to start hooping. And that's just something that I'll start watching a basketball game, and I'll see someone make a move or what have you, and I just want to hoop. That's all I want to do right now. And then obviously, and then also I've had a lot of injuries. So for me, I've had like 8 surgeries in 10 years, unfortunately. So for me, it's just also going out on my own, like kind of going out on 2 feet rather than limping out of the game, and just going out, standing, playing a full season healthy.
Well, before we jump into the Daily 3, when you subscribe to Locked On Sports Minnesota, you're getting endless Vikings talk with local experts. Subscribe to the free Locked On Sports Minnesota podcast feed wherever you find your podcast, and find our videos on Locked On Sports Minnesota's YouTube channel. Well, this is the time I love, the Daily 3. That's 3 questions, 3 minutes each. I'll take a minute 30. George takes a minute 30. Sam's going to run the show. So take it away, Sam.
I want you both to go back, whether it's your high school days or your college days. You guys have played in front of a lot of opposing student sections that I'm sure love to chirp you. So I want you to think about, and, it can't be R-rated, so, keep it appropriate. But what's the craziest or funniest experience you ever had with an opposing student section? Hey, we can have Matt censor it after the fact. We post-production capabilities. So, Ron, why don't you start us off?
It's not really R, but you know what? Like, Wisconsin was always fun. I never really felt harassed at Wisconsin. It was actually pretty fun there. I had some of my best games. I think my freshman year had 9 catches for 100 yards. Sophomore year had a big game against them. Junior year had a huge start to the game. They somehow found a way to come back. I killed Jim Leonard down the field. And then, at home, we beat them and got the axe. But then Iowa, different breed. I got a cheerleader's number after a game. Because I scored 2 touchdowns right where she was cheering. And I did my celebration was give me and she literally came up and gave me her number. This is back when you didn't have cell phones, people. So she had to write down a piece of paper and hand it to me. Never called her, though, but I did get the number. It's on video. Somebody found the video for me. It's like, is that when she came up and gave you her number? I'm like, yeah. But here's a story of the worst fan base I've ever dealt with. Purdue. Purdue is so close to our sideline. They peed on toilet paper and threw it at our coaches. It was raining, and so they just were drunk, and they pissed on toilet paper, rolled it up, and threw it at our coaches. And I think it was David Gibbs, and I forgot who else. You could see piss blots on the back of their jackets, and we didn't figure out it was piss until we looked down and we're like, wait, that paper is yellow. That's not rain tissue. And eventually the cops, I think, went and found them. But yeah, the Purdue fans are just too close to our sideline. But yeah, that was the worst. They peed on toilet paper and hit our coaches with them.
How about you, Jordan?
For me, I feel like fans are always funny. So what I always loved was the people that were unique. So it was everywhere I went, my whole life, I always got people. For some reason, people think I look like Carlton from Fresh Prince. So, we had Ryan Evans. We had Ryan Evans my senior year. And he had the flat top haircut too, right? So we had the flat top haircut. So they would always call us, Carlton Banks, and come up with signs. I think Purdue had a real cutout sign of Will Smith and Alfonso Ribeiro with me and Ryan's face cut into it. So that was funny. But for me, like I said, that got stale. So the most unique thing I heard, and this may be R-rated, and it wasn't even a fan base. I don't know where the dude was from. It was at the Big Ten tournament. And, obviously Wisconsin has a lot of white guys on the team. And I don't know if I've ever laughed in the middle of a game this hard, but we were walking off the court and someone just yells, "Hey, Bo Ryan, is this a basketball game or a Klan rally?" And I don't think I've ever, probably the most inappropriate thing I've ever heard. But it was, I don't think I've ever laughed that hard in my life. Just, we had a lot of white guys. It is what it is, I guess. Probably a little mischaracterization of those white guys. Yeah, a little mischaracterization of my friends, which I don't know I appreciated, but it was funny. I can't lie.
Ron's dying.
Because I remember y'all warm-ups. Y'all had the white hoodie warm-ups every once in a while. So that's what I probably would have been on the court dribbling and just I probably would have laughed. Man, he got you. Y'all better go put the red. Coach, can we get the red warm-ups? We got to take these white ones off.
Well, we were walking to the locker room, so I was like, man, we thankfully we were going out of the tunnel, but I was just rolling, like I was rolling. I was rolling.
I don't know how we move on from that, but I'm going to attempt to ask the next question. So I want you to each make an argument for your respective college towns. So, Ron, I want you to argue why Minneapolis was superior to Madison as a college experience. And then, Jordan, I want to hear the same from you defending Madison. So, Ron, I'll let you start.
So this is what I'll say. Minnesota is close to downtown Minneapolis. So the problem is when you're 18, 19, and 20, you don't really enjoy downtown as much unless it's an 18-plus night. But for the 21 and up crowd, you're right downtown. I'd say when I play, honestly, I'd have to go with Madison. Like that's the hot take of the day. Like Madison is a better college town. Because when I was in school, we had to play at the Metrodome, and I was just talking to somebody Saturday about that. Like they bust our student section to the Metrodome, so you don't have the tailgate, you don't have the walking up and down the streets, you don't have the frat row being able to drink right before kickoff and then run. I mean, you see them running through the streets to get to the game with like 20 minutes to go. Running with their drinks. You couldn't do that downtown. You can't run through downtown with drinks. And so I actually got to go to Wisconsin. I forgot. I think it was a couple years ago. PJ wasn't the coach. So I can't remember. Or maybe it was PJ's first year. I don't remember. But I know a couple years ago, I got a chance to go to the Badger game in Madison, hang out. It's an awesome town. It's a great experience. I think they call it the fifth quarter. It's cool in the parking lot. So yeah, it's a tough one for me to defend Minneapolis. Like it's definitely changing now, but in my era, I gotta say Wisconsin, the jump around was hot back then. Like it's a good college town compared to what Minneapolis was. So I gotta. I mean, I'm tough one for me on that one.
What about Dinkytown, Ron? Dinkytown's so cool.
Yeah,
it's called Dinkytown. Like
I was hoping this would lead to some good debate, and Ron's just it's Madison.
That's a tough.
It's not a debate. If we're being real, it's not a debate. The answer is in the question. Like Ron said, Minneapolis is not a college town. Minneapolis is not. It's a hopping business, young professional town, especially now. Madison is the epitome of a college town. It's an isthmus. It sits right in between Lake Minota and Lake Mendota. The city downtown is the campus. You know what I'm saying? The people downtown, they go to the square to get away from the college kids, and they still can't really get away from them. So, like you said, you got Frat Row, you have State Street, you have Langdon, you have just everything you need when you walk down. There's family atmospheres on game days. There's inappropriate atmospheres on game days. There's not a lot of places you can take a walk from the basketball arena down to the football stadium and take a beer bong from 3 stories up on a house. There's just not a lot of places, not a lot of atmospheres like that. It is what it is. It's just it's not a debate.
Yeah, Madison is pretty great. I've been there too. It's awesome. I thought Ron would put up more of a fight though. That was kind of disappointing.
That's a tough one.
Yeah. All right, last one. I want you both to reflect on your college careers. What is the one play that when you're laying in bed at night and you can't fall asleep, what play are you thinking of back from your career, whether it's a play you want back or whether it's a play where you were really good? Ron, you can go first.
Well, of course, the Penn State game, goes to my mind all the time. We won that one. Ohio State. I'm actually going to go with the Wisconsin game, and it was me and Jim Leonard one-on-one down the field because, that was the plan. The plan is not to get me open. The plan is you put me one-on-one with anybody, good night. And so the plan was to get the corner to bite on the run and then have the safety have to cover me down the field. And I never actually remember the play till now when people play it, when stuff comes up on ESPN and every time before we play Wisconsin. I ran down the field probably 10 yards, 15 yards without even looking for the ball. Like I was just running because me and Travis Cole had practiced it so much. I'm like, look, if you miss this spot, I'm not going to get it. So I can't look because I got to make sure I'm pushing the safety out the way. And so I ran like 15 yards, and at the last minute, I looked up, and the announcer actually caught that because I finally saw the TV cop, and he's like, yeah, he still doesn't look for the ball. And then at the last minute, I look up, it dropped right in, I kind of push off, and I thought I scored, and they ended up calling me out at the 1. So that one gets me because I'm like, are you kidding me right now? Like I need the bleep button for that, but like I should have scored on that. We ended up scoring anyway on a run pass after that, but I wanted to score because we had worked on that all week, had the matchup. and the stupid ref said I was out at the 1. I hit the pylon. I think today's football probably been a touchdown, but back then there was no replay. So that gets me a little bit.
Man, how many touchdowns did you miss out on from not having replay?
Oh man, a bunch. Like we had a stupid end zone at one point against Purdue, and so it was like green to white and then maroon, like a rectangle. It was the dumbest end zone I've ever seen because of the Vikings. And yeah, we had a bunch of like stepping on the green, which should be a touchdown, but the refs were confused, thinking the maroon was the end zone, and they was calling us out. There's a picture in the Star Tribune actually, overtime against Purdue with that, with foot on the green, refs saying no, and there's no replay, so we just had to go with it. It was stupid.
Man, well, I'll go quick. I got a couple, honestly. I had one. We played Duke my sophomore year. It's more of a funny one. And I was a young kid playing Duke, ended up winning the national championship that year. But we're down maybe like 6 or maybe 4, something like that, 5 late in the game. And they came down. I think it was Kyle Singler, someone tried to like shot fake and throw a no-look pass to the corner. And I jumped it, intercepted it, and it would have pretty much sealed the game. I'm holding it in my pocket, and Nolan Smith comes up behind me, knocks it out of my hand. Not right back to Kyle Singler. He swings it. Somebody hits a 3. They get right back in the game, and I'm over here. I went to the bar that night, and one of my friends was like, "Oh man, you went from 0 to 0." And I was like, "Yeah, sure did." And then I have the one against Ohio State when they were number 1. I hit a 3 in front of Aaron Kraft, which is one that was just kind of, I remember the crowd. It was electric. And then the last one was the last play of my career against Syracuse, Sweet 16. Coach Ryan let me draw up the play. It's supposed to be a horns action with the 2-3 zone at the top, and my teammate was supposed to slip to the middle. We didn't execute it right. I ended up having to heave a 3 up, and we didn't get a good shot up. Ended up losing by 1. It was all bad, and it's crazy because I'm sure Ron can attest to this. Is you just how small the margin of error is when you have that, because some of those things can swing your career, or swing your team, your teammate's career, or whatever. So stuff like that. That one definitely keeps me up at night.
So you had a Carlton Banks type of shot. Like Carlton Banks did that to Will Smith. Throw the ball from at the end, threw it up, slow-mo. Everybody's hoping, and then it hits the back of the wall.
But that joint grazed the bottom of the rim. It grazed the bottom of the rim. I said, standing there just like this, like he wasn't. Didn't go in.
It's gonna go in. Nope, it did go in.
Right.
Well, I want to thank Jordan Taylor for joining me today on the Ron Johnson Show. Please go back and look at the interview. He has some great stuff to say. Check out, this dude was part of the Ku Klux Klan of Wisconsin in a game. So you got to go back. Make sure you go back if you're just checking it out. Jamie Foxx. But make sure you subscribe to Locked On Sports Minnesota for endless Vikings talk during the football season. Not only can you find us on YouTube or your favorite podcasting platform, but we are now on Roku and Amazon Fire with all the new Locked On Sports Minnesota's app. Check out today all of our favorite shows. You can check out the Ron Johnson Show, Superior Sports Talk, Locked On Vikings, the Football Party. Make sure you check it out. We have the biggest and best podcasters in the city of Minnesota. And of course, we're going to talk Vikings talk. That'll do it for today. Have a great one.